Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil, and who is somewhere probably doing something that would get him possessed by a demon like in this stupid-ass movie.
That would be David. I just spoke to him on the phone maybe 20 minutes ago. He is busy, but he should possibly, fingers crossed, be back next week for Piranha 3D.
Yeah, please be back, David. It'd be nice. We've really watched some wonderful movies, and I would like your input on this.
Yes, so today's a first for us when it comes to movies. We're doing our first direct-to-video movie during Remake Month.
I am shocked that this went direct to video. It was so good.
It had a very, very small theatrical release.
It also had it was small on talent, production. It did have one good practical special effect, but it was pretty small on a lot.
Yeah. We're doing the remake of Night of the Demons from 2009, the second movie of Remake Month. Last week was The Omen from 2006. This week is Night of the Demons from 2009. And then we're going to do Piranha 3D next week. That was surprisingly good with Elizabeth Shue, and Christopher Lloyd, I think, is in that one as well.
There's a lot of nonverbal communication going right now.
Neil sent me a text that his wife was not happy with this movie.
Not at all. And I was even trying to watch it. And I've got to remind myself to not watch these movies in front of my wife, because her hatred and her vitriol for this really actually got in the way of actually watching and trying to listen. Even though there wasn't much to watch or listen to, it just made it a little difficult, because I'm just going to say that I think hatred is really a kind word for the way my wife feels about some of these movies. Yes.
Well, we're trying to see the full spectrum of the video store era, good and bad. So this one is definitely on the bad side, although I found it sort of entertaining.
It was a little entertaining, but it's just the whole time I'm sitting there, just like, please be quiet. It's not, they can't all be zingers. They can't all be zingers.
Yeah, the dialogue was bad. I kind of feel like there's a quote from Stephen King on the history of horror when he's talking about to Eli Roth. He said, even the worst horror movie was still pretty damn good. So that's kind of the way I feel about this when it is not good in the conventional sense. But I think if you watched it with some friends and you were, in that zone of watching a shitty movie, I think you would probably have a good time with it. But before we dive into that, I think we have a lot of other things to talk about, probably intentionally to keep us from talking about this movie. But Neil, what did you watch this week?
All right. So my wife and son are still working their way through the Harry Potter movies. Mm-hmm. So I think we're all the way up to, we're going to be watching the last one, I think probably tonight. Really, really super busy week this week. I worked a lot of late nights. But I did watch, of course, this movie and a little movie that I believe we both watched on the same day. Godzilla -1.
Yes, it came out yesterday on Netflix. Kind of a surprise, because I was, in fact, even the day before, I was like, God, when is this coming out to stream? And then all of a sudden I saw all the nerdy Godzilla groups I am in on Facebook were all screaming about how it was released today. So I immediately had to watch that after I, made notes for Night of the Demons. We sat down and watched it with my wife and son, and then they both enjoyed it again. Jamie had not seen it yet, and she enjoyed it. So
yeah. Oh, and we're watching a series. I think there's only 4 seasons of it. It's called Evil.
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
Yeah. So we're in season 2 right now. Watched a couple of those episodes today. Not bad. It's getting really trippy. They've got some cool practical special effects, and they're dealing with the church, supposedly the Church of Satan. Mm-hmm. They're dealing with some of those guys right now. It's been interesting because just weird shit happens out of the blue.
Nice.
It's fun. I know you don't have the patience for series like that, but I do. But it's not bad.
Sometimes I wish I had more patience to watch series, but I don't know. If you can't get the story done in 2 hours, I don't know if I want to want to watch it.
Well, see, this is interesting because they keep tying back to. They don't just wrap up stuff in a neat package. Like they'll finish. They'll move on to like a new episode, then like something will happen that ties back into something that happened like 6 before.
It sounds cool.
No,
Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, there it is. I just noticed how well my beard matches what I'm wearing. Look at this.
Oh yeah, gray and gray.
Gray and gray. Nice, good times. Do you want to talk about before we talk about you were watching? We had ourselves a little guest spot. I think that went.
Yes,
that was a lot of fun because we talked about a good movie.
Yes, we are guests on the Sisters Who Seen It podcast, and we talked about Conan the Barbarian, and we had a good time. It was a lot of fun. So if you don't already listen to the Sisters Who Seen It, I suggest it. They're a lot of fun. They do a lot of current and old movies, and they have a good time, and we enjoy being guests on there the 2 times we've been on there. And of course, they're welcome to be on our podcast too, but it's a nice little twist to be on a different podcast. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I don't think she quite shared the zest for the movie that we did, but
we did our best to convince her.
Yes, we very much so, as I would do with anybody who hasn't like watched the movie or doesn't understand its true social significance.
Yeah.
All right, Godzilla -1. I know you watched that. What else did we do this
I
week?
watched Godzilla -1 yesterday. Loved it. Just that movie is just so good. It is really what I hoped a modern Godzilla movie could be. That and Shin Godzilla. It just shows you how good Godzilla can be. And Shin Godzilla is completely through a completely different lens in the fact that it's more about the bureaucracy of Japan and what would happen if something like that, like a giant monster actually came ashore and how would they deal with it. And it's kind of a interesting take on it. But this one is kind of a pure offshoot of like the spirit of the 1954 Godzilla. You just feel for the survivors, and it's about this guy's trauma from World War II and building a family. I mean, it's just so much to that movie, and it brings a tear to my eye in 2 different ways. It brings a tear to my eye for the emotion of the movie, that his family and his new makeshift family, but also when the ships finally start moving with their plan against Godzilla, and that Godzilla march just hits, and it's just like, man, this is everything I wish I could wish for in a Godzilla movie. It just gave me chills especially in the theater. It was so amazing, and I just can't say enough about how good of a movie it is. If you don't like Godzilla movies, then I think you should give this one a shot, because it's not just a good Godzilla movie, it's a good movie.
The missus isn't a Godzilla fan, but I think I said after I'd watched it in the theaters, she did enjoy this one. She came out actually impressed with it because it does have a good human story as well as kaiju messing stuff up. And I love the people on the ground perspective when Godzilla is just tearing through things, tail whipping through, just taking people out, the blast wave from his breath, his feet crushing shit right and left. That was super well done. That was not, oh God, who's the dude? The dude from The Simpsons or whatever, sitting there cowering with his camera, just getting missed between Godzilla's toes. This wasn't that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Hank Azaria.
Yeah, Hank Azaria. Thank you. I want to say Harry Shearer, but that's only because I've been watching some This Is Spinal Tap.
The thing that I love about the Godzilla -1 is that you really can sense how massive Godzilla is in how slow he moves and what happens whenever he takes a step. Like the concrete buckles underneath him and people are getting flipped in the air, and just everything he does is so massive, and he takes up space. Like, you believe it. Where in the new movies, especially, if you watch, I haven't watched Godzilla X Kong versus Brown versus the Board of Education. I haven't seen I haven't seen that one yet, but it just they don't move right. They're so like gravity doesn't affect them. They're flipping around and King Kong is riding on the back of Godzilla and they're running and they're doing all this kind of stuff that for gigantic 80-ton creatures they should not be able to to do that.
I weigh a lot less than 80 tons, and trust me, I take up some space, and I do not move quickly at all. Not anymore.
Yeah, so I just it's done so well, and the other ones are fun, and I haven't watched them yet. I'm sure when it comes on Max, I'll watch the new one, but it just doesn't hit me like a Toho produced kaiju movie. Just that Toho logo, with the kind of the shimmery, rainbowy kind of iridescent background, and just that
what you're in for, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a Shaw Brothers shield.
Yeah, exactly. Golden Harvest.
Yes. Or like a Hammer filming the Rankin, the Rank Corporation where the guy's hitting the gong and, it's a Hammer horror movie. It's just the way you feel when you see those. You're like, hell yeah. That's, you're going to see some shit. Speaking of shit, well, actually, no, before that. Well, yeah, speaking of shit, I watched Star Wars Revenge of the Sith when I came home and I kind of fell asleep on the couch. So I managed to watch a good chunk of it. And it pisses me off. And we're going to have to do it here soon. We're having to do Attack of the Clones first. But there's just so much stuff about that movie that just fucking drives me nuts. How quickly Anakin can turn to the dark side, like just because he doesn't get a promotion to Jedi Master. It's like he's just the most disgruntled Jedi there is. And 1 minute he's, being kneeling to Palpatine, and the next thing he knows, hey, go kill some kids. And he's like, sure, I'll go do that. And he has no,
Yeah, I think that it was supposed to be implied that there was some time that has gone by, but they didn't really play to that. They didn't really show things have progressed, things have moved. It just
they need to have a montage of him taking out other Jedi.
Something. Could we have an 80s cleanup montage of Anakin kind of starting to go evil and then going full evil till
just
I'm ready to start killing babies evil.
Around, nothing's ever going to bring you down, and he's chopping other Jedis down and stuff like that. Would be yeah, exactly. Or the one from Scarface, push it to the limit, and then you see him and Palpatine talking on the phone, laughing with each other while he shoots Jedis out of the air and stuff like that. I would want to see that.
If we don't talk about montages anymore, do you swear to God you're going to stop singing?
Yeah, I'll stop.
Okay, fucking A. Night of the Demons, 2000.
Well, one I did watch today before we started recording. I watched Basketball with Trey Parker and Matt Stone. It was on Stars Comedy, and that movie, I just love it. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
It's just one of those movies that's just so stupid that you just enjoy it. Put your brain on hold and enjoy a stupid movie. When
she hands him the trailer hitch.
Yeah, she has chrome on her lips.
Yeah, if you don't know the joke, it's so funny.
But yeah, and then I think at work with Waterboy was on, and that's another stupid movie that just balances between idiotic and funny. That's the type of movie I enjoy.
Where this one was just kind of idiotic.
Just was pretty idiotic.
And for a movie that was made in 2009, this had strong 1980 vibes to it. This you could have plopped this into the video store when we were kids, and this movie would have flown. It would have been exactly. It's like it didn't evolve at all. They didn't try to step it up a notch.
Well, my thesis in the movie is who is more annoying, 80s douchebag bros or 2009 douchebag bros? Who's more annoying?
Yes. That's my answer.
Yes. Equally annoying?
Uh-huh.
I kind of find the 2000 bros a little bit more annoying.
Yeah, but see, when we were watching in the 80s, we were kind of identifying because those were the guys that were always portrayed in the movies.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, I can kind of see that. And now we look at them, we're like old guys. We're like, fuck these kids.
Yeah.
I hope a demon gives it to you in the butt. That's what I hope.
Well, read the Internet Movie Database tagline and we will immediately start disagreeing with it.
Okay. A group of kids go to a Halloween party. No, not children. Only to have to face down a group of demons.
Kids.
Yeah, kids.
These people are like late 20s, early early 30s. Playing early 20s people, I would think, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say, you sold this to me like, oh, this one's way more sexed up than the first one. And it took a long time to get to that action. I'm just going to say. Now, there were demons sucking on horns. Was that what you're talking about when they were all
Yes, there's a
demoned out?
demon orgy. Yeah. Well, this one is a little more horny than the original one. No pun intended.
she's got no lips and she's kissing her and you can see the prosthetic flopping around all over the place.
Yeah. I did
So
see
bad. That bugged you too? Good.
Yeah, this is the sequel or the remake of the 1985 Night of the Demons. And one thing I will say is that there is a Night of the Demons 2, which I actually enjoy better than the original Night of the Demons.
Is that the one with the guitar?
No, that's Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Slumber Party Massacre 2. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah. So, sorry, Night of the Demons, the original one came out in 1988. I was mistaken, not 85, 88. So it's got a little bit of that late 80s vibe to it. But Night of the Demons 2, which I think is underseen and should be seen, it came out in 1994 and May of 1994. So this is one when I was working at Hastings. And if you remember the box cover to Night of the Demons 2, it's got the lead demon Angela, and she has a skull like lollipop. And it says, Angela is throwing another party, trick or treat, sucker. And it is actually better, in my opinion, than the original Night of the Demons. It's got some nudity. It takes place at a Catholic school where there's boys and girls are in this Catholic school, and they go to the old Hull House and they get possessed and they bring the demon back to the Catholic school, and all sorts of shenanigans happen. Night of the Demons 2, don't sleep on it. It is actually way better than this movie and the original Night of the Demons. If it is streaming, we'll have to watch it because it is way better. I enjoy it. It's more funny. It's a little more tongue-in-cheek.
I got 2 words for you. Nipple tentacles.
Nipple tentacles, yes. This one had nipple tentacles.
Which seems like the least effective way for a demon to attack somebody. Yeah.
Unless you get hypnotized by the boobs and then they get you.
And they just come right out at you. Or it could be like, what was the name of the Glenn Danzig movie? Veronica.
Yeah.
Where she got the eyeballs on her boobs.
Mm-hmm. Good old Glenn. So this movie was directed by Adam Giersick. It's like Giersack, but Giersick.
I'm sticking with Giersack. That looks good.
That's the only credit that I've seen him. There's nothing else to link to on the Internet Movie Database or anything.
I'm shocked.
It was written by Adam Giersick, and Jace Anderson had a very limited theatrical release in October of 2009 and then went to home video. Had a $10 million budget, which doesn't look like it had a $10 million budget. Most of the movie's budget, I think, went to song licensing, because it actually had a few good songs in it that I think are pretty good. It had
there's some Typo Negative. That was awesome.
Yeah, Typo Negative. It also had the Swinging Neckbreakers with No Costume, No Candy, which was on the great Halloween Hootenanny Rob Zombie Presents Halloween CD. Yeah, it's a really good Halloween album. No Costume, No Candy. It's got Concrete Blonde, 45 Grave. So it's got a lot of cool, like, metal, gothy kind of songs.
Okay, some of those songs were cheesy. You know what? Here's the thing. Adam Giersack, whatever your name is, Jace, if you guys want to take another shot at this, come see me and I'll get you some Satan-related music. Let's go. We could have done so much better. I was expecting to see like rockabilly demons pop out of nowhere with some of their choices.
I do kind of like psychobilly music, though. It's a psychobilly freak out.
How are we friends?
So the cast is Shannon Elizabeth as Angela, and Monica Keena as Maddie, Diora Baird as Lily, and that's about the rest of the except for the guy who played Dex, Michael Copon. He was a Power Ranger. He
What
was
about
in.
what about Edward Furlong?
Oh yes, I forgot Edward Furlong. How could we forget Edward Furlong giving a very grizzled looking performance?
Dude, he looked rough. He looked like he was in his late 30s. He was having a hard time.
Yeah, you could see he had that kind of bloated, alcoholic, cocaine binge look on his in his face and his demeanor. He just did not look good, which actually kind of added to his performance as a drug dealer. But yeah, he looked pretty grizzled.
Yeah, just a little bit, man. I mean, okay, I got the matching luggage under the eyes. My wife
So
will
do
tell
I.
me.
I got major bags.
Yeah, my wife will tell me, she's like, "Oh, you're not feeling well. You're not. You didn't get enough rest or something like that." And I go, "What makes you say that?" She goes, "The size of the luggage." But for someone his age to look like that, it's like, man, you need to back off of whatever it is you're taking, dude. There's way, way too much floating around in your system that shouldn't be there.
Right now, he is 46 years old, and apparently was involved with Monica Kina in real life from 2009 to 2013. Wow, so they were in a relationship during the making of this movie. Wow.
Yeah, my wife was reading some really effed up trivia about him. Like he was 13 and his 29-year-old tutor hooked up with him and then stayed with him and became his manager for a long time.
Yeah, he has had a life.
Yeah, it's another one of those like young Hollywood tragedies. Like they get these kids in and just abuse them.
The kind of thing, the weird thing is that he is still working. He's consistently making movies. He's in a movie called Unspeakable Beyond the Wall of Sleep. And then 2023 was in 2 movies. He did some motion capture for Terminator Dark Fate. And he's been in a lot of different movies of varying quality, but he's still working. Bless him, and he's still alive, so that's good on him.
Yeah, miracle. It's a miracle.
Yeah, he's very grizzled.
Dude looks like he smokes like 60 to 100 Marlboros a day.
And Shannon Elizabeth is Angela. She was like 36 or 35 or 36 when she shot this movie, so she was a little too old to be playing like 20-something party host chick.
I am going to say I don't think they cast her for people to look at her face.
That's true. But she was in the classic horror movie Jack Frost, where she gets assaulted by a snowman in a shower. I just remember the cover for Jack Frost in the video store. It had the lenticular cover where if you looked at it at one angle, it looked like a normal snowman, but if you looked at the other angle, it had the scary face. That was probably the best. They probably spent more money on video boxes than they did the actual movie.
Yeah, I remember that now. Now that you're actually talking about it, and then they made on the cover, he was a lot more like skeletal and scary looking.
Yeah, he looks cheesy, very cheesy in the actual movie. But yeah, she has still acting, still out there. But yeah, this one was it was a little rough. She was in Jack Frost, Scary Movie, which she was funny in. The American Pie series. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Yeah, so she's
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. What's a trouser snake?
Then he had Monica Kina, who is a fan favorite for horror nerds. And she was in Snow White, A Tale of Terror. Freddy vs. Jason is the first movie I remember her in. She's the final girl in that movie. Night of the Demons, 40 Days and Nights. She's been on a lot of TV shows, but hasn't been in anything since 2020. So it's been a little bit. She's on Law and Order, lots of TV roles. But I thought she's cute. I think she's cute. A little different looking, but she's cute. She's very tiny. She's 5'1".
Right.
I don't know why every time I look up an actress, I have to see how tall they are. I have no idea why.
I'm not going to kink shame. It's just you, whatever. I mean, you do you. Whatever you need to make it happen. It's okay with me, man. I'm not judging.
Diora Baird was the girl Lily, and I was talking to David about this movie, and he's, oh, Diora Barrett, she was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, and it was super hot. And I go, oh yeah, she was. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I couldn't place her. I remembered having seen her in something before. And then my wife looked that up and reminded me that's what she had been in. Well, am I getting applause? What the hell is that about?
Sorry, there was a mosquito flying. She was in Wedding Crashers, Hot Tamale, interesting, Bachelor Party Vegas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, Stan Helsing, Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah,
Night of
that
the
was a pretty
Demons.
good one. Hot Tub Time Machine. Come on, man. Great White Buffalo.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So she's still out there acting, was originally a model. She was pretty hot in the movie as Lily. And I think that's probably why I like this movie, is that the ladies were attractive.
Which is weird because that has never been a reason for you to like a movie ever. So I mean, I need
people who listen to this podcast probably think I'm like this shallow pervert. I don't really care. Only care about that kind of stuff, but
they don't have to think it.
I have demonstrated. Put it out on Front Street.
Everybody knows now.
Well, thanks, Neil, for putting up that picture, a screenshot of Jack Frost in the shower with Shannon Elizabeth.
You're welcome. See, while you were looking up stuff, I left a little something for you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Because I care. You don't always seem to appreciate when I do that, but this time I did, and you liked it.
Linnea Quigley, who was originally, in the original movie, memorably, has a cameo in this movie, but in a very troubling,
the weirdest GD cameo ever. I had to explain to my wife that she did this in the original movie. And my wife's like, she showed her cooch to little girls in the original movie. Oh, no. It's just kind of, she did that at one point when they were trying to steal like food and stuff at a store, and she meant her like that. But it wasn't little girls. But apparently this time this guy thinks it's a great idea for a full grown woman to bend over and show her
panties to a bunch of little kids. Yeah. A little odd.
Yeah.
Neil, this has a negative rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Can you believe that?
Shocked. Let's read this critical consensus.
Okay.
In mostly negative, Rotten Tomatoes rate the film at 35%, which is rotten based on 17 reviews. Dread Central gave mixed reviews for the remake and gave it 3.5 out of 5. It's brash, loud, and sexy, but a few too obvious flaws unfortunately knocked the film down a peg. In the end, it's still a fun ride and certainly worth a watch on an evening when you'd rather disengage the brain and sink a few drinks than deal with anything more cerebral. Fright Fest direct that's pretty freaking succinct.
It is.
Dread Central got it. I think it was partway through. I told my wife, I'm like, I think I'd like a Guinness. Fright Fest director and founder commented that the audience response in general was noted to be positive for the film. The film received a very limited theatrical release, grossing $64,000 against a $10 million budget before its direct-to-video premiere.
Yeah. And this flew under the radar for me until I watched the original Night of the Demons for the podcast a year or two ago. I was like, wow, there's a remake? So I watched it one night, and I was amused, but I was less amused this time when I watched it. And I've included a link to some of the Rotten Tomatoes reviews, and the one that makes me laugh the most is Kim Newman from Empire Magazine says, as remakes of straight-to-video schlock goes, it's reasonably entertaining to watch.
Okay, I will top that with one by Josh Bell from Film Critic. When you've missed the nuances of a lipstick and boob scene, you know you're lost.
Yeah.
Edward Furlong plays a depressed catastrophe hit loser who goes to a party in a haunted house and is duly pursued by demons. You feel the part wasn't much of a stretch. That's fucking mean.
Charlotte O'Sullivan from the London Evening Standard.
It's so freaking mean, and I love it. Oh my God.
The Guardian says it's machine tooled for the horror fan base. Brash, slick, yucky by the numbers stuff.
Yeah, this podcast is freaking dragging. You can tell we're really struggling to go through this. Okay, so let's talk about the movie. And you wrote something about this, But that stupid ass fake movie at the beginning, it's just it lost me. Although I do appreciate that, if someone is jumping from that height to hang themselves, from what my understanding is that will pop a head off. So I like that happened.
Yes, in fact, it made me think of your comment on last week's episode about The Omen, where the nanny falls a lot further, and you're like, yeah, her head would be into the punch bowl at the party.
Yeah, it'd be gone. But that the whole movie at the beginning, and then that annoying ass flicker on it that they did to make it seem like it was an old movie.
Yeah, and the thing that's so stupid is, why is it a silent movie? Who shot this stuff as a movie? Are we supposed to think that somebody made a movie about the old thing, or are we showing a flashback that you could just show in that sepia tone? You don't need to have the flickering. You don't need to have the silent movie piano and the dialogue cards.
Yes, you know what? We could even take this back a notch for the remake. There's got to be a way to sort of work that into the lore as you're watching the film, rather than this. It just seemed like someone was talking to, like, you got a really simple uncle that they keep chained up in the basement, and we got to explain the movie to him. That was a little bit too Southern right there, but it just, as soon as I started watching that was the first thing that turned me off. It had a hard time kind of picking back up, and there were a few things that just really, really threw me off about it. And it could have been more fun if they would have just edited out some of that unnecessary shit.
Yeah, that flashback really adds nothing to the movie, because they explain it later when they find the bodies in the basement. They could have kind of done a flashback then, but not, hey, my memories are in an old movie format. When I talk about the past, I have to think about it in a silent movie. I do love me some movies that take place on Halloween, but I think that the original Night of the Demons captures the Halloween feeling a little bit more, because it's got kids trick-or-treating, old men putting razor blades in apples. And,
just like the old days.
Just like the old days. And some of the vintage decorations in the 80s houses and that kind of stuff I enjoyed a little bit more. Where this one, you're in New Orleans, and it's Halloween, so they show the parade downtown and stuff. So that captures that Halloween spirit a little bit, but then they add the whole thing with Edward Furlong's character, Colin, looks like shit, who has to go to his, I can't tell if he's Russian or British drug dealer. And the guy gives him another chance to make money and for the money that he owes him and stuff. And it's just
and
like,
wants to have a very awkward conversation.
Yeah, while he's getting a sloppy one from some chick. And
can I say that when my wife was looking stuff up, because she was thoroughly annoyed with this, and she tells me, she goes, "Oh, they've got an after credit scene." Did you see the after credit scene?
No, I did not.
Oh, son of a bitch. I watched all the credits just to go back to a shot of the drug dealer, and then the girl's head comes up. She goes, "Are you done yet?" And he goes, "No." I waited through all the credits just to see that. I was fairly disappointed.
That is actually kind of funny if you think about it, that she's still going at it after all that time. All right, we'll give him a little bit of funniness there. The girls are 3 female leads. I can't even remember the names. I have to look them up again. Monica Kenna is Maddie. Diora Baird is Lily. And the other girl is Suzanne. Suzanne is a little bit more voluptuous one out of the 3. And they're having this long conversation. They're like, hey, let's have girl chat. And whoever did the girl dialogue, it's like, yeah, girls talk about waxing all the time. They just sit around and, talk about that.
That's what they do. Or she's sitting there like, oh, you weren't supposed to dress sexy, as she's wearing like a half shirt and low-rise jeans.
You totally stole what I was getting ready to talk about. Yeah, she said that she's telling Suzanne and Lily, oh, you weren't supposed to dress sexy. Well, you look like shit. But meanwhile, she's wearing like super skin tight, like ripped white tank top t-shirt and like low super 2000s era low rise jeans where you can tell her waxing routine. I wasn't complaining about that, but yeah, that is so stupid.
Oh yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
It was bad. One thing they relied on way too much is the shaky head transformation thing that they, like when somebody transforms into a demon, they do that thing where they have like a still shot of the person's head and they make them shake it fast and they crank the camera speed and then they have the makeup on. They did that one a lot. And also at the beginning, they did at the party, lots of super fast zooms around it, but then they find somebody and they go to slow motion. It's like, all right, enough.
There were like 12 people at that party too. It's supposed to be some huge rager. There's like 12 folks. Wasn't worth the time.
That's where I thought up the question: who's more tolerable, 2000s douchebags or 80s douchebags? I think there's more of a purity to 80s douchebags. It was all bullying based back then. Now it's just trying to get laid based, I guess, in the 2000s.
Well, it was still pretty much that back in the 80s too.
Yeah. So Angela, played by Shannon Elizabeth, is the girl who's holding the party, and she's charging everybody to get in, and it gets busted by the cops. And when the cops come in, of course, that's your way to trim down the cast to your basic victims, the 7 people that need to be killed in order to complete the seance demon conversion that was alluded to in the first in the silent movie shot. They got to pare them down. They spend a lot of time looking around.
Quite a bit.
They do in these movies. They got to creep around and look, and creep around some more and look. They look in the basement, and that's when they find the original 6 bodies in a like kind of a sort of pentagram shape. And then Angela gets bit by a skeleton.
Is that a gold tooth?
Yeah, and she gets bit by a skeleton, and that's what possesses her. And then we get more exposition where they go back again in the sepia-toned flickery camera view and talk about how it was the maid or somebody who was falling in love, and she did the seance, and then in order to stop the seance, she hung herself. So that there's some foreshadowing about what's going to happen, or you think is going to happen. Then you get the spin the bottle scene where there's, chicks making out just for the titillation factor. I imagine, though, if you were like in your 20s, like, hey, you want to watch a scary movie? And you watch this when you probably would be entertained. But I think we're so jaded having seen thousands of scary movies that it's tough to get a rise out of us.
I thought you were going to start talking
about we're so old.
No, I thought you were going to start talking about playing spin the bottle. And I'm like, have you ever been anywhere where anybody actually ever did that?
No, never.
The answer is no. I have been at parties that have been disrupted by the local police, by the local PD on several occasions. I remember
running out in a field one time.
I wasn't there.
I think it was our senior year where somebody's house was abandoned or something, and we went, and immediately the place was busted, and everybody's running away.
Who's we? Why you got to drag names? Why you got to drag me into this?
But yeah, I just that is true to life there. Yeah, there's just they crank up the sexiness a little bit, just to kind of keep you entertained with a lot of, performative lesbianism.
And her alone time with the bottle.
Yeah, alone time with the bottle. And then
and see, that was the bit that I thought was complete bullshit, because if these guys were like frat boy douchebags, as soon as she did that with the bottle, he wouldn't have gone, oh no, I can't be here. He'd be like, hey, let's go talk about this.
Sweet, let's do this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jason is the good guy who refuses to when Lily is Lily, who gets turned in to a demon in a unique way. Dex Angela kisses Dex. He gets turned into a demon, and then he goes upstairs with Lily, and they They do it the Hound's way. Have you heard that lady who talks about that the doggy style should be called the Hound's way?
The Hound's way. I can't even keep track of the names. I just was sitting there like, oh Jesus, here we go. Okay, that was kind of nope. They ruined that. And if you're going to try to do jump scares, don't make them predictable. Because even the fake ones, as you're sitting there looking in the mirror, it's like, okay, jump scare's coming up. Opens it, closes it. Yep. Okay, they jacked the music up. There was supposed to be the jump scare. There were no good jump scares.
The one kind of gross special effect that I thought was kind of impressive is when Angela and Suzanne are dancing around a typo negative, and then she like rips all the skin off of her boob and then her face. That was like, oh, that was pretty good.
That one was pretty good. That actually caused my wife to pause the movie when she comes back and goes full demon after the whole lipstick routine. Mm-hmm. And my wife was sitting there trying to pause it to see if like her boob was still all like jacked up from the from the original. She's like, okay, were they consistent? And she paused.
I think they were, because I remember in one scene when she was running up the stairs that you could see that she still had some damage there.
Yes, my wife was pleased that there was some continuity with that, but that's the last thing I would have expected her to try to pause the TV for.
This made me think of something really obscure and totally off track. Remember the He-Man characters you could get with the battle damage armor? Mm-hmm. So like you would hit their chest and it would just roll, but every time you hit it, it would be like, some damage on their chest and stuff like that. I don't know why I thought about that, but yeah, that was pretty cool.
I thought you were going to be talking about like Fisto or something like that.
I fisted as hard as I could, He-Man. There's
I know. I was hoping you would talk about it.
There's a lot of weird subtext in He-Man. There's Ram Man, Beast Man, Fisto, Merman, and then Man at Arms. There's only Portila. Oh, and Evil Lyn. There was
Evil Lyn.
Evil Lyn. Yeah, I kind of preferred Evil Lyn over Tila. I know that's surprising.
Yeah, I'm shocked too.
Just how I enjoyed the Baroness over any of the female G.I. Joe characters.
Still thinking about Fisto.
I fisted as hard as I could. This is going to earn its E for explicit this week. They do when Lily gets possessed, they do an homage to the famous lipstick in the boob scene from the original Night of the Demons, where Linnea Quigley, just for no reason, takes her lipstick tube and pushes it into her boob in front of a guy. Do I sound super immature for saying boob all the time? Should I say breasts? Is that better? Is that more sophisticated?
I think we're buying. You know what? We're in for penny for a pound. So, boob.
Exactly.
Boob.
Yeah, all right. Boob. And then it comes out her
okay, that sounded. You're sitting here wondering, does boob sound immature? But then the lipstick thing came out her hoo hoo. Don't you have a child? Are you unaware of what
he's sitting next to me? He's sitting like 10 feet away from me.
Andrew, your dad wants to say vagina, but he's unwilling to.
So, yeah, but I do like the makeup on Suzanne after she gets her face ripped off. Her eyes looked kind of cool with the kind of skeletal thing. So the makeup wasn't terrible. You can tell they didn't have a huge budget, so they kind of didn't do a lot of it. But what they did was actually kind of good.
Strategic application in places.
Strategic, yeah. And then they got to go through the tunnels that connect one mansion to the other, and that's when things really drag. Lots of creeping around with their guns, and
they're on the ceiling.
Yeah, just I hate when movies rely on that way too much. There's a movie, like an independent movie called The Void, which is really, really good. It's like a John Carpenter homage, but you could tell they were stretching out that budget with a lot of skulking around in the dark, trying to build up tension, and there was absolutely no tension. And that's the way this was quite a bit. There's just none. there were some homages to the Evil Dead once they're in the cellar and the hands were coming up through the cellar and stuff. There's a little bit of an Evil Dead riff going on there.
Dead by dawn. And no one ever thinks to stomp on shit.
Yeah, exactly. Don't have 105-pound Maddie on the top of the cellar door. Why don't you get a couple of the dudes on there?
Yeah. Oh, there's a hand that came through the wall. Didn't think to maybe grab the wrist and snap a couple fingers?
Yeah. And for some reason, rust damages demons in this movie.
It's going to be rusty iron because iron is an ancient element, or whatever the hell they said. I don't remember.
Yeah, so demons are elemental, and iron is elemental, and rust can damage the elements, so rust can damage demons. So they go with that.
Good thing they found that trombone down there.
So yeah, there's
nothing for the rusty trombone joke.
Rusty trombone. Okay, hold on.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's just a lot of stalling when they get in the room with all the spells on the walls to keep people out. That's just more. Let's just ride this thing out until they can break through.
Yeah, we need some time. Thank God we got crayons and sidewalk chalk, so when the blood's splooging down the walls, we can draw all over them again, just enough to keep them out. Get our characters nice and bloody so they look even scarier.
And there was the demon orgy that was happening outside the room. A little odd.
Yeah. I want to know at some point, was there a director like suck on the horn?
Yeah. The movie kind of peters out with Maddie gets a shotgun. Everybody else gets killed. Jason gets his guts taken out, which is kind of cool. That was kind of entertaining, at least. And then Colin, Edward Furlong's character, crashes through the floor and falls like 3 stories. Then he dies falls in all the way into the basement.
Yeah, what brought on his transformation? He had a compound fracture on his femur, and for when she poked it, that shit made me laugh. She poked at the wound. That was good. But she's sitting there and she's going to try to pop it back in. And that for some reason causes him to transform. How did he get demony from that? I thought they had to like bite him or like get busy with him.
Yeah. I have no clue.
And out of nowhere he transformed. Logic. So disappointed this film didn't follow logic.
The one thing I thought of is when Edward Furlong breaks his leg and it's got the compound fracture, the way that he was crying out, he sounded so old. He sounded like an old man who, with like a 4-pack a day cigarette habit, was crying out. He sounded like me, a 51-year-old man crying out in pain.
With your 4-pack a day cigarette habit?
Yeah. Then she does another Evil Dead preparation montage, putting rusty nails in the shotgun and putting nails in the shotgun shells and stuff, which jam the shotgun.
Who'd have seen that coming?
And of course, she gets the rope.
Sorry. Can I say one thing also? So she loads it, she racks it. She steps back out, she racks it again.
Yes. She's going to eject the shotgun shell.
Yeah, like, I did all this work to get all that in there. I'm just going to pop this perfectly good shell out. And then I got to reload it. It's always so dumb. As soon as you get a hold of a shotgun in a movie, you gotta have that dramatic like thing. They always want to rack that. That'd be like guys like, okay, we loaded up. I got my Glock, and they're gonna pull the slide back 7 or 8 times before they actually get to shooting somebody.
I think it's the equivalent if you pull some tongs out of a drawer before you're going to barbecue. You've got to click the tongs together 3 times just to
make sure it works.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the feeling. They're not going to work unless you click them together.
If you have a loved one who you're intimately familiar with, you got to try to pinch them somewhere inappropriate.
Or every time you pass by, you got to swat them on the butt. That's just another.
No, that's a necessity. That's not that's a have to. That's, you got to keep the marriage alive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if you're like in Home Depot and you're passing a bag of like lawn stuff, and it's or fertilizer or any kind of thing, you just got to pat it.
Let's not get too far out there, sicko.
So Maddie looks like she hangs herself, and that causes the demons to all die in the sun. And she's the demons are not that smart, and then it ends. That's it. That is the Night of the Demons remake.
Yeah,
Pros.
and she feels. I like that she feels really nothing for what happened. Basically, a whole night's full of trauma. She just kind of walks off with a little glib remark.
I know. Demons are that smart. La 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 la. Yeah.
Yeah, very 80s. Honestly, if it was, and even in the 2000s, she's got to be stressing out. She's like, fuck, now I got to come up with all the rent myself. I don't know whose name the cable's in. What am I going to do about the Amazon subscriptions? These are all things that need to be thought
all my
of.
closest friends are dead, but I'm just going to, walk off like nothing happened. Let's talk about the pros of this movie.
Let's hear them. I'm waiting.
Some of the effects are pretty good.
Yes, agreed.
Some of the music is pretty good.
Some
of the ladies in the movie are pretty good looking.
Been there, done that.
I think the original is better because it captures that Halloween spirit a little more. It's got that kind of 80s vibe to it, that 80s meanness that is good in the movie. It has one thing that's missing in this movie that the first movie had is there was no African American character. Like they were, you have to give credit to the first Night of the Demons for some diversity because he lived at the end of the movie as well. So, yeah, I think the original is a little bit more creative. During they're having the seance and they look through the mirror and the demon's on the other side of the mirror and you see people dead and stuff. And it's not a great movie, the original, but it's way, way better than this one. And this one goes to be another unnecessary remake. But like I stated earlier, if you're in the right mood for a shitty horror movie, it wouldn't hurt to watch this. It's 92 minutes that you can kind of, do stuff around the house, go, oh, yeah, somebody's dead. And then watch. Or if you're feeling sick and it's a rainy day and you have Netflix or you have Amazon Prime or Peacock, check it out.
What was that last one?
Peacock.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So to summarize, don't watch this expecting a great movie. This is a carb movie. This is a frozen pizza movie. This is not fine dining.
But this is a frozen pizza that you already ate your Red Baron and you already ate your Tombstone pizza, and all you got left is Totino's.
You're just down to Totino's.
And it's got the ice crystals on it, and you got to, put it in a little bit longer to make sure they get all melted and it still gets crispy. So you wind up eating a little bit of burnt pizza, and then you eat it and you're like, it's still okay. It still tastes pretty good.
And then you're left with regrets.
Yeah.
All right. So you left a little list here of movies that were set around Halloween.
Yes.
And I had looked at this list and I have some gripes, which I know you're shocked about, but I have some gripes because it's not accurate. At least two that really stuck out to me. Mm-hmm. So The Book of Life and Coco.
Yeah, they're around Halloween, but those are All Saints Day or
those aren't Halloween. That's Dia de los Muertos. Yes.
Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos. That is not Halloween. So just, white people, pay attention to what you put on Wikipedia.
What kind of amazed me is how many kids movies are set around Halloween. And The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. That is the OG right there. The Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. That was the original one that I remember just stuck in my brain. And I know we're 150 days away from Halloween, but
not like you're counting.
I think I'm over that. Hold on, let's see. 151. Dang, I was so close.
Do you have a timer? Actually, do you have a countdown timer?
I do have a Halloween countdown on my phone. 151 days from the day of recording this, but. Yeah, I just love Halloween, and I love movies about Halloween to get you in that kind of that mindset, that fall feeling. And usually around June or July, I get in that kind of, I wish it was Halloween mode, and I start watching like more horror movies. But the OG is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, because it has the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I remember even as a kid in elementary school that they would roll, everybody would get to go to the cafeteria and they would put on a movie every once in a while. And I remember one year they put this on and I thought it was the coolest shit ever.
We watch that every year, regardless. That it has to be played.
Oh yeah, just amazing. The Goosebumps movies, Nightmare Before Christmas, obviously, but the in the horror thriller one, there's just so many. Both Night of the Demons, Late Night with the Devil, which just came out as a good one. The Exorcist, Silence of the Lambs is set around Halloween. Trick or Treat, which still needs to go to a streaming service. The good old
it's the one they're showing. The one they're showing is one from '52.
Yeah,
with Donald Duck.
But all the Halloween series, of course. Night of the Demons, Night of the Demons 2, Night of the Demons 3. I've never seen. The cover looks kind of funny, but I have never seen it. The Pumpkinhead series. I just love me spooky season. There's this movie called Hell House LLC that I've seen on Shudder a bunch of times, but I have not seen it. But it's another found footage movie that I'll think about watching. Found footage it's just varies so widely in quality. You can get something good, and then you can get something that shit. And my patience is very thin sometimes for found footage movies.
Yeah, found footage movies with the shaky cam. My favorite, right up there with Point of View from the Killer with Asthma.
Which brings me to thinking about that movie, In a Violent Nature. I've heard some very divisive reviews on it because it is from the killer's perspective, where he's hunting down people in the woods, and it's like the whole movie is from that perspective. I guess it's super, super violent, but also people say it's kind of boring because it's like, what if Jason stopped to take a dump, and what if Jason stopped to eat, or whatever? I hear it can be boring, but also the kills when they do happen are extremely brutal. So I still kind of want to see it when it comes to Shudder. But yeah.
You remind me of, was it Mallrats? Like, your friend has an unhealthy obsession with superheroes' genitalia.
Yeah, well, remember in Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason had a little shack, and he did have a toilet in his little shack.
Toilet, yeah. And you wondered what the hell was going on with that.
That's when Jason was human, so. Yeah. Killer mommy. Well, everybody, that was Night of the Demons from 2009. Oh. I'm interested to see what the downloads are going to be in this one, because it's not really
like about
very
2.
well known.
Like about 2. I think of the 4 people that listen, maybe 2, and that's generous. Unless we talk David into downloading it too, we might take it up to maybe 3.
Yeah.
And we're going to follow it up with a real winner next week too.
Yes, Piranha 3D, which is actually kind of fun. I'm sorry. I should delete that. (2010) Piranha 3D, and I know there was the sequel Piranha Double D, which I have not.
I wonder what that's about.
I know. Yeah, it's only 88 minutes, so I saw it in the theater. But check that out. I think it's probably on a bunch of streaming services. But thanks everybody for listening. You can hit us up, rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We're on Threads, we're on Facebook, and we're on the Instagram. Thank you so much for last month. We had a lot of downloads, and we appreciate it. Hopefully we don't tank this month with all our crappy remakes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, it's like we'll have some really great films, then we'll just have like a string of things that it's just, oh, I've lost moments of my life for it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody, have a good week and don't watch the movie.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.